I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Parks and Recreation Commission for May 26, 2021. May we please have roll call?
Chair Clark,
Here.
Vice Chair McGill,
Here.
Commissioner Baker,
Here.
Commissioner Feck,
Here.
Commissioner Lesnar Buxton,
Here.
Commissioner Longstreet,
Here.
Commissioner Perry.
Yes.
Thank you. Do we have any changes to the agenda?
Chair Clark, no changes to the agenda.
Okay. In terms of written communications, I'd just like to acknowledge that we've received multiple emails this month, and most recently today, we received an email from Anna Marie Gott, and we thank her for that. We've all had a chance to look at it. And now we come to public comment. Any member of the public may address the commission for up to 2 minutes on any subject within the jurisdiction of the commission that is not scheduled for public discussion before the commission. The total amount of time for public comments will be 15 minutes. Ms. Navarez, do we have anybody here?
1 second, please. Yes, we have a hand raised, but I'm going to read this first. For those of you who wish to speak during public comment, please use the raise your hand functionality in the GoToWebinar control panel. We are currently displaying a graphic showing where that is located. When I call on you, please unmute yourself and then speak for a maximum of 2 minutes. For those who wish to speak on an agenda item later in the meeting, please raise your hand when the item is under discussion. All right. We have Mark Alvarado. Mr. Alvarado, go ahead and unmute yourself. You have 2 minutes.
Good afternoon. I wanted to speak with you for the first time regarding the Ortega Park Mural Rescue Project. First of all, I worked for the Parks and Recreation Department for over 5 years as a senior supervisor for neighborhood services. I resigned in June of 2017, and for the record, I was not terminated. So I was not employed by the city in the summer of 2018 when the comprehensive outreach process for Ortega Park Master Plan started. Somebody had stated that I was working for the city at the time, and I wasn't. In fact, I'm on record for praising the process as I participated. However, the record also shows that I was the only person who asked about the murals. The community was told at that time that the murals would be discussed later. Well, later was November 12, 2020. This was when the community was told by the Parks and Recreation staff that the murals would be destroyed in lieu of new mural opportunities. At this point, the rest is history, and I'd rather share with you what's in front of us as we await to learn more about the remaining legislative process and the outcomes related to the murals. First of all, members of the community, and myself included, have reached out to the Save Ortega Park Art Committee to resolve conflicts with no success. The Ortega Park Mural Rescue Project has received over 1,000 petition signatures to preserve the murals. The preliminary results from Parks and Recreation survey regarding the murals had a 95% response in favor of preserving the murals. The evaluation of the murals contracted by Parks and Recreation stated that 4 of the murals are historic in nature. We have never been given the opportunity to fully review these findings in order to seek out solutions. However, the Parks and Recreation Department did make a concerted effort on March 17th to utilize the mural evaluation, but that opportunity did not yield any results. Since then, Mayor Kathy Murillo has directed the Arts Advisory Committee to establish a process to determine the outcome of the murals and a process for murals in the future. Manuel Unzueta said that 20 murals have been destroyed and with no trace of their significance or history. We don't have any funding for the pool. It'd be nice if we did a fundraising effort prior to construction of the park. So there's not a big delay with no neighborhood pool. And also, I think the contamination of the park is also an issue, and we need to know more about that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alvarado.
Chair Clark, we have another public speaker. Ms. Valente, you may unmute yourself. You will have 2 minutes.
Welcome, Ms. Valente.
Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. The Ortega Park Master Plan needs to be revised while the deadline is approaching for the $8.5 million grant. After 3 months of ignoring public outcries for a redesign, you finally have an excuse. Time has run out. Community outreach efforts are weak by design or intent. 30 attendees at each of 3 workshops isn't a lot, and then we're already off and running with the Ortega skate park meetings. When the public finally gets word of what's going on, you tell them it's too late, except for what you told Juan Jimenez. Where were they when the first meeting was held? The Goleta skate movement knew about it somehow. Well, now you've got our attention. The murals preservation community realizes what they're about to lose. After months of proper outreach, they have over 1,000 signatures on their petition. There was an impressive turnout at the April 24th meeting, and many participated in the mural survey. Open-ended questions, so the answers weren't fed to them. 95% want the murals to stay put. But Parks and Rec is still adamant about sticking to the master plan. $8.5 million for AstroTurf, a skate park, and destruction of the murals. And to deal with contaminated soil, which will render the park off limits for quite some time. A necessity. Speaking of which, how is the community going to learn how to swim without a pool at Ortega Park? Has the city been telling residents that they will have access to pools owned by the Santa Barbara School District, or that these pools are going to be expanded? This isn't the purview of Parks and Rec. This is what people are hearing. The Ortega Park renovation project has been handled very poorly, and it's time to start over. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Valente. Ms. Navarez, do we have any other public speakers?
Chair Clark, there are no more raised hands.
Okay. We do not have a youth council report today. So I'll move us to our commissioner committee assignment reports, and I'll start with Commissioner Baker.
The Golf Advisory Committee did not meet this month.
Thank you. Commissioner Feck.
The Creeks Commission did meet, but unfortunately I'm not able to make the time, or I didn't had a schedule conflict.
Thank you, Commissioner Feck. Commissioner Longstreet.
I attended the De La Guerra Plaza Subcommittee and HLC joint meeting on the 7th, and it went for 4 hours. It was a long meeting. I think it accomplished a great deal in that it's something we've missed throughout the pandemic, the face-to-face. I mean, even though we had to do it on Zoom, but the ability to talk about the project. So it was a good meeting. It's not yet resolved. It still has to go through HLC, but it was a time to really examine goals and how the committee who had met for 10, Commissioner Perry knows also, 10 meetings of a couple hours each, to condense that into a 15-minute presentation to HLC is really, it's unable to happen. And so this was it was a good first step to coming to some consensus on it. Interestingly enough, the following Monday, the NAC received an update from Brad Hess about both De La Guerra Plaza and the police station. And again, it just drove home to me what it takes to explain to a group, a commission from the get-go, how you've arrived at all of these different items, these consensus items. So that was a good review of both projects. And then I also did attend the budget presentation for Parks and Rec at City Council.
Thank you. Commissioner Perry.
I will echo Commissioner Longstreet's positive comments about the De La Guerra planning. I sat in on the meeting. I believe I only made it 2.5 hours, but it was wonderful to witness the dialogue and the positive comments coming from multiple positions. Arts and crafts, I was not able to attend this month, but I did get some information back, and they are still doing their best to reinvent themselves.
Thank you. Commissioner Lesnar Buxton.
Yes, I attended youth council, and it's basically groups and people for the town. So for the next year, we have some very impressive eighth graders who applied, and I'm looking forward to next year.
Thank you. Vice Chair McGill.
There was not a Park Foundation meeting this past month, and I did attend the city council meeting on the budget, and along with Commissioner Longstreet provided both written and spoken comments.
Thank you. I attended the Street Tree Advisory Committee meeting. We'll be talking about those agenda items next. And I also, last Saturday, I attended the community workshop regarding Eastside Neighborhood Park, and I was thrilled with the department's outreach and how many people came in and gave their opinion about what they wanted to see in this park. It was really something to see. Very impressed with the process there. And there is another Eastside Neighborhood Park workshop, I believe, on Thursday. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Chair Clark and Commissioners, yes. We're also having an evening meeting at 6 o'clock at the park, similar format to the one we had last Saturday.
Wonderful. Great. It was really good to see there was people of all ages, even children, looking at the different options and weighing in on what they wanted to see and what mattered to them in that park. It was pretty cool. So please come out next Thursday if you are invested in that park and want to share your voice.
Chair Clark, that's tomorrow. So just for anybody who might be listening,
next Thursday. Tomorrow.
just for clarification. Feels like last Wednesday, I know.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. That brings us to our commission and staff communications. Do we have anything special? Ms. Zachary?
Chair Clark and Commissioners, only to inform the Commission, as you received an email indicating that the City Council will be discussing the Ortega Park on June 8th. It's a 6 o'clock meeting.
Great, thank you. Summary of council actions. Did anybody have any questions? Okay, brings us to our minutes. We've all had a chance to read them. I'll make a recommendation that we waive the reading and approve the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Any discussion?
Do we need to do both of them separately, or can we do both together? We've got both the special meeting and the regular meeting.
I was thinking separate, but we could do them together.
Yeah, I'm good either way.
Okay. Any more discussion? So I believe I made a motion and Roger seconded. No discussion. I'll call vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, so moved. That brings us to our Street Tree Advisory Committee items, and welcome, Mr. Slack.
Good afternoon, Chair Clark and Commissioners. Next slide, please. The first Street Tree Advisory Committee recommendation for review is the request to remove one king palm, which is a city street tree located at 433 West Chapala Street. The property is proposing significant improvements, and one of those improvements requires the installation of a driveway apron, essentially right within the footprint of the existing king palm in the photo. In addition to the proposal to remove the tree, the applicant did propose installation of a new street tree along Chapala, as well as a new street tree on the Haley side of the property. This property sits on the southwest corner of Chapala and Haley Street. The committee reviewed the application, the plans provided by the landscape architect, who was the applicant for the project. Noted the palm was in good health, but the development seemed practical and there was really no way to accommodate the driveway apron without requiring removal of the existing king palm. There were no other viable replanting options along Chapala Street, but there are viable replanting options along Haley, with the proposal to install a new tree well and plant a new designated street tree, which happens to be a Brisbane box on the side of the property. After discussion, the committee voted to approve the removal of the king palm located at 433 West Chapala Street on the condition that the applicant work with the city arborist to determine a suitable planting location along Haley Street adjacent to the property.
Commissioner
I have
Long,
I have a question. The Haley Street sidewalk seems a bit narrow. Will we be able to maintain a adequate sidewalk for ADA compliance with a tree well in it?
Chair Clark and Commissioner Longstreet, I believe so. I was on site in discussions with the applicant prior to submittal of the application, and it did look like we could create a tree well while preserving enough sidewalk for ADA compliance.
Because that is a busy pedestrian area, and I think that's got to be a concern we have. Although I do know in a commercial area, I don't believe there's any required plantings on the property. Are there, like setback kind of
Sure.
plantings?
Chair Clark and Commissioner Longstreet, they will be planting some plants as part of the proposed improvement. So there will be some new trees on the property as well as pretty extensive landscaping.
Well, just please keep that in mind as you move. I think I was muted. Please keep the sidewalk width in mind as we're moving forward with this.
Chair Clark and Commissioner Longstreet, absolutely. I think anytime that when we look at these conditions, especially with new street trees, new tree well situations, you know, it's always with the best of intentions. Sometimes there's infrastructure conflicts and things of that nature that may end up preventing us from being able to get a new street tree in. So those are things that are always taken into consideration.
Thank you.
okay. Are there any more questions? Okay, is anyone, Ms. Navarez, is there anyone here to speak on this particular tree?
I don't see a raised hand, but let me just, anyone who would like to speak on this item, please raise your hand in the GoToWebinar control panel. There are no raised hands.
Okay. I could entertain a motion.
I will move that we support the committee recommendation to approve the removal of the King Palm on 33 West Chapala Street on the condition that the applicant plant a new street tree on Haley Street in a location approved by the city arborist.
Second.
I can, oh, thank you, Commissioner Baker. Is there any discussion?
I'm going to abstain until I see more. I'm sorry I didn't do my due diligence visiting the tree, but I feel more comfortable after Commissioner's Longstreet's comment to abstain from this because I'm concerned about access particularly on Haley Street.
I'm not quite sure I understood what you were saying.
Chair Clark, I believe Commissioner Lesnar Buxton was indicating he was not able to visit the tree prior to the commission meeting. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's the concern of Commissioner Longstreet with the ADA. I'm going to abstain.
Okay, so Commissioner Lesnar Buxton will be abstaining.
Yeah.
You can vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you.
Chair Clark and Commissioners, the next Tree Advisory Committee recommendation for review is the request to remove a lemon scented gum located within the public right-of-way at 410 West Mitchell Terrena Street. The applicant expressed safety concerns, and in discussions with the applicant, I believe a tenant first brought this up to the managing property. And they had both their landscaper and a local tree care company representative look at the tree, and they both advised that they felt that the tree should be removed. The committee discussed the tree, noted that it was in really good health. The arborist on the committee also commented that they felt the tree was structurally stable. There had been no notable site disturbances or anything like that that would indicate that the tree had any kind of potential defects in the root system, had been in this condition for a long time. Lemon scented gum also is a tree that can have sort of a funky, wonky kind of growth habit, and it seemed to develop well along the slope. After discussion, the committee determined there were no viable criteria to support removal of the tree and voted unanimously to deny the request for removal.
Thank you. I believe was there also some discussion that this tree is not technically a setback tree, it's in the right of way? Am I remembering that correctly?
Chair Clark and Commissioners, that is correct. I was going to reference that. We saw one of these last month as well, where the municipal code, the street tree ordinance 15.20 does require a permit to remove trees located within the right of way, even if they don't fit within the technical definition of street trees. So this is one of those unique situations where city ordinance still requires a review and approval prior to the removal of a tree located within a public right of way.
So do we also, if it's a in right of way, do we make findings as we would with a setback tree?
Chair Clark and Commissioners, no, technically within the street tree ordinance, which would regulate trees within the public right of way, there are no technical findings as there are in the 15.24, which regulates trees within the setback, parking lots, and on approved landscape plans.
Thank you. Do you have any questions? Oh, Vice Chairman Gill.
Yeah, I went by there this morning and had a look. I just was kind of curious, other than size, is there anything that distinguishes this tree from the other gums that are adjacent to it? They all seem to have about the same growth habit.
Chair Clark and Commissioner McGill, I think the biggest sort of driving proponent behind the request was the subtle lean that the tree exhibits. There was not a lot of information or substance provided in addition to the application. We did talk to the actual applicant, and they expressed that they felt that they were doing their due diligence in pursuing removal based on the information provided by their landscape company and the tree care representative.
Thank you. No further questions, and I'll ask, do we have anyone from the public who would like to speak to this tree?
Chair Clark, I do not see any raised hands.
Okay. Brings us to the making of motions.
I would move that we concur with the Street Tree Advisory Committee recommendation to deny removal of the lemon scented gum at 410 West Mitchell Terrain Street.
Second.
Great. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? All in favor?
I
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you.
Excuse me, Chair Clark, I want to confirm, Commissioner Perry, did you oppose?
Yes, I did.
Thank you.
Chair Clark and Commissioners, the next Street Tree Advisory Committee recommendation for the review is the request to remove a Canary Island date palm located within the front setback of the property at 421 South Milpas Street. The applicant is requesting the removal of the existing Canary Island date palm due to proposed improvements in front of the property. In As part of the application submittal, they provided some plans. What is known as I believe the Blue Sands Motel at this address is proposing to move a patio into the front setback as a sort of a seating area and like lounge space for tenants of the property. The Canary Island date palm actually germinated on its own. It was not part of the original landscape that was planted in front of the property at 421 South Milpas. The committee reviewed the application. They knew that the tree was in good health, but it was in a really poor location, kind of shoehorned between the building there. And also there was general agreement that it obviously had germinated. After discussion, the committee made the recommendation to approve the removal. There were no conditions for replanting given the proposed development within the front setback of the patio. There was some landscaping elements that were going to be put back in addition to the hardscape improvements of the property. And additionally, the committee made the recommendation, or they determined the commission could make the finding that a reasonable and practical development of the property on which the tree is located requires its removal.
Thank you. Do you have any questions? No. All right, Ms. Nazares, do we have anybody from the public to speak on this agenda item?
I don't see any raised hand. Anyone who would like to speak on this item, please raise your hand in the GoToWebinar control panel. And no raised hands.
Okay. I can make a motion to agree with the Street Tree Advisory Committee recommendations to approve the removal of the Canary Island date palm at 421 South Milpas.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Just to add, based on SBMC 1524.
Oh, to add our findings?
Yeah.
Consider this reasonable development of property, especially in the light of COVID and needing more outside spaces, hotels and public areas where people can safely linger. To the finding of reasonable development of property. Do you agree with that finding, Commissioner Longstreet?
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion other than Mr. Baker's? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Chair Clark and Commissioners, the last Street Tree Advisory Committee recommendation for review is the request to remove 2 Canary Island pines located within the front setback of the property at 425 South Salinas Street. On the application, the applicant listed debris concerns, the trees being really close to the garage, dropping lots of debris on the roof of the covered parking garage, as well as damage to the driveway. They have an asphalt driveway, parking lot sort of thing on the property, as well as lifting of the sidewalk. And it is worth noting the applicant did offer to plant street trees in lieu of the proposed removal of the Canary Island pines. The committee reviewed the information provided by the applicant, discussed the trees, noted that they were in really good health, fairly well maintained, noting that the debris is a common occurrence and not something that really serves as like viable criteria for removal. There were additional comments made about the significance that these 2 trees provided to the local community in terms of canopy cover and just general aesthetic. Even though there are street trees along South Salinas, they're quite young and the area is somewhat devoid of large stature canopy trees such as these. And after review, the committee made the recommendation to deny the request for the removal of both Canary Island pines located at 425 South Salinas Street.
Thank you. Do we have questions? Ms. Navarez, is there anybody here to speak on this tree?
Chair Clark, I do not see any raised hands.
I have a question. When they talk about damage, is that damage to vehicles or is that damage to the like garage, the roof? I know it says it's minimal, but just curious if that's something that could, after a long period of time, cause more significant damage.
Chair Clark and Commissioner Feck, I believe the concerns all revolved around hardscape damage and then just debris accumulation on the roof. There were nothing specifically like with a vehicle in terms of like a branch failure or something like that.
Okay.
You know, I think in any situation where you have debris accumulation, like in a gutter or roof situation, and it's not maintained, it certainly can lead to long-term problems. There were very minor or subtle disruptions to the asphalt, and didn't really see anything on site during our inspection where the sidewalk was actually displaced in any real level, and not to any level that would warrant repair. So, and the committee did during discussion kind of note that all of these noted issues were quite subtle and manageable.
Okay, thank you.
I'm prepared to make a motion.
Okay.
Public comment? Is there?
Is there anybody here to speak on this tree? Ms. Navarez?
No raised hands. Thank you.
Yeah, I thought we asked. Okay. Vice Chair McGill?
Okey-doke. I will move that we support the committee recommendation to deny the removal of the 2 Canary Island pines at 425 South Salinas Street, based on that there are no reasonable findings. Or no applicable findings, I should say.
I'll second.
In terms of discussion, I would just like to add, I agree with the Street Tree Advisory Committee comments that it would be a blight in the neighborhood to remove this canopy. The neighborhood doesn't have a whole lot. So my discussion, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I'm going to abstain.
Opposed? So moved. That brings us to our director's report.
Chair Clark and Commissioners, few things we'd like to share with you this month. The first one relates to the Pilgrim Terrace Community Garden, which is over on Modoc Road opposite from La Cumbre Junior High. The property is actually owned by Pilgrim Terrace Homes, and the city department has had an agreement to operate the gardens there since 1979. We've done that since then there's a short-term, almost 20-year period where the Community Environmental Council actually operated that garden, as well as the Rancheria and the Yananali Gardens at Eastside Neighborhood Park. In 2015, ownership of Pilgrim Terrace changed to Pilgrim Terrace Affordable LP, and as part of that, they established the Terrace Foundation. And that Terrace Foundation is dedicated to providing comprehensive and in-depth urban farming. It's a project that generates vegetables that then are able to be enjoyed by the people that live in the Pilgrim Terrace homes. If you have a memory of traveling along Modoc Road, you'll know the area that I talked about. In the last number of years, we've been talking to them of actually transferring management of the gardens back to Pilgrim Terrace, being as that they have now engaged in urban farming projects. They've got a desire to make improvements to the gardens, and yet still operate it as a community garden for community members to use on an annual basis. We are now at the point where we are going to be transferring and exiting our relationship with Pilgrim Terrace, beginning at the July 1st. So our agreement with them, we have an annual agreement to operate them, will be up as of July 1 of this year. In working with them, one of our key priorities has been that they're able to retain existing gardeners, that gardeners that have plots there can continue to garden in the future under the new organization, and that the cost of those garden plots would remain the same. In exchange, gardeners will benefit from the additional resources that Pilgrim Terrace can bring to the garden in terms of making repairs and rehabilitation and managing the garden in a way that the city is unable to provide. We don't have the staff resources to provide the additional management of the garden. And ultimately it fell to park staff as part of their general duties, but then also gardeners to help out when they could. So overall, I think it's a good way to end our relationship. The garden is thriving. There's lots of members. The Terrace Foundation will take over and only make it a better place. So just wanted to share that with you, that changed. There's no change to the Rancheria Garden or the Yananali Garden. Both of those gardens are on City Park property, and those are continuing to operate. Want to highlight as well a partnership that we have with the library department. We've been working with the library department since the beginning of this year to provide a story walk program in city parks. The program, which is part of the library's early literacy class offerings, occurs in 6 different parks in the month of May. It encourages families with young children to join the library staff outside to enjoy a picture book. So they put up boards of the picture book and they can walk along and learn to read and engage in the story with their families. Way to introduce children to reading and the love of going to a library and the love of books. I would also add, although not part of the presentation, the director's report, we're also working with the library on park locations where they can bring their library van, on-the-go van, to be able to have a mobile library throughout Santa Barbara. Great marriage between the 2 departments. We both provide extensive services to many families, and particularly families in need throughout the city. And then, it's hard to believe it's May 2021. I was mentioning prior to the meeting that this time last year, we were scrambling to figure out how we could afford to put lifeguards on the beach because we needed to make sure people needed to be safe during COVID. And we had lots of people, both people from Santa Barbara and people from outside the area, coming here because it was a place they could enjoy being outside. Now that we are going into the new phase of responding to the pandemic, the County Health Department has issued guidelines for gatherings, indoor and outdoor gatherings in the Santa Barbara area. And very different from where we were last year, but it allows, under certain circumstances, the numbers of individuals to join together in indoor and outdoor settings for social events. Clearly, those private events are often found in city parks or park facilities because we provide some of the most affordable ways for people to gather and socialize. We've developed reopening plans. We have very specific guidance. We have, through our agreements with parties that choose to use a city facility for their event, how they need to comply with the county health guidelines. And we're continuing to monitor as we enter any new tier or there's any new changes, how we make sure to pass on those rules and requirements to individuals using our facilities to both protect them, but also for our staff, so our staff are operating in a safe manner. Our first event was held at the beginning of this month, 80 individuals using the Carousel House and the grounds surrounding that, and it was a success. So on the one hand, we're glad we're going in this direction. At the same time, we're also making sure that the steps that we take are consistent with county health guidelines for both the health and safety of individuals in our facilities, but then also the staff that are staff these events. That essentially sums up where we are. You're going to get a great marketing presentation from Summers Case, and that's really where a lot of the focus of recreation staff have been gearing up for summer because it's almost here, hard to believe. And then I'd also say that the Parks Division staff and the forestry staff have been gearing up for summer too. So we've been frantically running around trying to make as many landscape improvements, get ready for summer field improvements, knowing that we'll have even more people outside enjoying our park and rec facilities in the coming months. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Do you have any questions for Ms. Zachary?
I'm just curious, how's the Story Walk program going? I mean, what's the uptake on that? Do you think that will end up being something that's popular enough that it becomes a, kind of a permanent fixture? Because it seems like a great idea.
Chair Clark and Commissioner McGill, I can't answer that, but Rich Hanna, who may be able to, I can say, however, that we have pre-COVID, our parks have served as places where groups can go to participate in reading programs, and the library often reaches out to us as an outdoor destination, in part because their plaza is still behind fences and they're still fundraising to reconstruct it, but then also in part because being in a park is a wonderful place to be for youth and for families.
Chair Clark and Vice Chair McGill, I don't have much more to add than what Ms. Zachary provided. The program is a success. It's a combination of one of 5 programs they have in their early literacy offerings that they provide. We anticipate that they'll continue to do the Story Walk program, targeting specific parks, mostly where there's playground and a need for families to come to a location and participate in these activities. And then really, as Ms. Zachary referenced, the Library on the Go program with their van, that's new this year. We anticipate that continuing as well. And we're looking at ways to weave that programming into some of our summer camp opportunities, and specifically the Summer Fun program that we offer on the school campuses. So we're hoping that this partnership continues and more and more people hear about it and continue to participate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Zachary, I was wondering how you said you had the first event at the Carousel House and 80 people attended. I was wondering how summer and fall bookings are looking for private events and weddings.
Chair Clark and commissioners, we anticipated you would have that question, and I actually am going to ask Rich Hanna, Recreation Manager, to jump back in. So things are coming back, and I think he can give you a little bit more information.
Chair Clark and commissioners, that's a great question. And it's changing by the day. I think as everybody gears up for this June 15th, we're seeing more and more interest. What we currently have on the books from now through the end of the fiscal year, so the end of June 30th, we have 42 events that are currently booked in our indoor facilities. So that can be our community centers, our beachfront facilities, and they range from anything from a wedding to a private gathering. We now have some business meetings that are returning. So we've got 42 to complete the end of this fiscal year. And then right now for the rest of the summer duration, we have 50 on the book. So that would take us through the end of September. And we anticipate those numbers to grow. I don't have the numbers for you, but I can tell you that the return of the picnic rentals and outdoor events is growing exponentially compared to the indoor facilities. But we are continuing to get more and more inquiries, and we feel that, we're going to ride out this half of this part of this next coming fiscal year, so through December 31st, and then hoping that people feel a lot more confident being inside in larger indoor gatherings as we move further away from the pandemic.
Thank you. Have any more questions? Nope. All right. That'll move us to summers and our summer camp and marketing report.
Chair Clark, we have someone who would like to make a public comment on the director's report.
Okay.
Okay, she's calling in, so I sent her pin.
Great.
It's Anna Marie Gott. Okay, Ms. Scott, go ahead.
Commissioners, thank you for waiting for my delay while I got on the phone. Speaking of the phone, I hope that after the pandemic, you are able to receive public comment by phone and not necessarily just by an online meeting, because it's very difficult for people to utilize it, especially if you don't have internet access, may not be familiar with using a computer or have a mic set up, which a substantial portion of our population does not have. Regarding the report that was just given, I just have one question regarding it, and it really has to do with vaccinations. Are we going to require that people who are renting facilities have their attendees vaccinated? If so, is that going to be noticed? If not, should we actually be renting out facilities to people who are not going to make sure their attendees are vaccinated? Because we will contribute to the spread of the coronavirus if that does happen, if people are not wearing masks. And I'd also like to know if we are going to have park rangers or anyone else going to any of the facilities and monitoring the guests while they are attending a function. I think that's something that you need to think about. And I think you also need to think about making sure that every child in any summer camp activity who is eligible for a vaccination is also vaccinated. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. Okay, we can move. I believe that was just public comment. It's not a conversation when we get to public comment. But I do want to at least encourage Ms. Scott to skim over the report, because it did mention that renters will be responsible for assuring compliance with the county public health department. But I don't think we can go into deeper detail about that right now, because vaccination is a larger social issue, and that's not necessarily on our agenda today. So may I welcome Ms. Case?
Hello, Parks and Recreation Commission. I'm Summers Case, Marketing Coordinator, and I'm excited to be here today to tell you about this year's summer camps. So let's jump right in. Next slide, please. SB Parks and Rec summer camps are a standard in the local community, known as truly classic summer camp experiences, the kind kids remember fondly when they grow up. Our camps are well crafted, effectively run, fun, educational, and safe. And they're unique too. They bring young people to City of Santa Barbara parks, beaches, and recreation centers in a new way. Camps let kids and teens take ownership for a week at a time, exploring and learning and growing up knowing the value of parks and recreation. Summer camps are key to our department's success financially too. Summer camps bring in enough revenue in 3 months to help support mission critical but free or low cost programs all year long. So let's do an overview. Our camps this year serve kids and teens from ages 5 through 17. We offer 23 camps with more than 230 sessions. We'll have COVID safety protocols in place again this summer. The early sessions will start with exactly the same protocols as we used last year. The new check-in process, symptom screening before camp, masking, and campers grouped into small pods. In mid-June, state COVID requirements are likely to change, so we may be able to relax the social distancing and make masking voluntary for camps that happen after that. As of your commission report, we had 3,249 registrations in total, which translates into more than $812,000 in revenue. Some context for you, in 2019, camps brought in a little less than $800,000 total all the way through August. So we're already ahead of our previous summer camp revenue record, and it's only May. Next slide, please. So to give you a peek backstage into the exciting world of summer camp planning, Every fall, we have a big team meeting to pick apart the previous summer while it's still fresh in our minds. So we ask, how did each summer camp go? Are there some camps that sold out and should be expanded? Some that weren't so popular. And my favorite questions, which camps were harder to market with more time and money spent versus which responded really well to marketing support. We also do market research for this meeting. So what are our local competitors offering? Next slide. Is there something about camps we can learn from for our competitors? Is one of our camps duplicating a camp that already exists? And what are other Parks and Rec departments doing? Basically, we ask what we can do better next year and we make a plan to do it. Next, the recreation programming team looks at resources, deciding what they can do based on what we have. The team evaluates spaces that can be used to host our camps, staffing coverage to operate our camps, transportation for camps that involve field trips, and contractors we might partner with to add subject matter diversity to our camps. Next slide, please. Thank you. After all that brainstorming and detailed planning work last fall, we arrived at our list of summer camps for 2021, including a few new camps. Trapeze Camp will take place at Plaza Veracruz, the 2-acre park spanning the middle of the block between Huey and Coda, which was, fun fact, Santa Barbara's first city park. Santa Barbara Trapeze Co. will operate Trapeze Camp, which will teach the basics of trapeze acrobatics to children ages 6 through 13. It's a part-day camp with 1-week sessions Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Flight Camp, which is all about flying kites, will be at East Beach. It's a part-day camp with 1-week sessions too, 2 to 5 p.m. for teens and preteens, 10 to 17. West Coast Kite Life is our partner here. And then Travel Skate Camp. This year at Travel Skate Camp, 8 to 12-year-olds will take a road trip to a different regional skate park every day, visiting Goleta, Solvang, Oxnard, Ojai, and Fillmore. Next slide, please. Thank you. Lobster Joe's Beach Camp is another new one, and it's a full-day camp. It's also at East Beach. Lobster Joe's replaces Aqua Camp this year, and it's for kids 6 through 12, but with a junior counselor option available for teens. And finally, Beginning Water Polo Camp is a new one for us, and it's a part-day camp at Los Baños for ages 9 through 14. Next slide, please. After registration started this year, we had really long waiting lists. So we found ways to expand capacity where we could. Santa Barbara Junior Lifeguards added on sessions, sticking with their new 3-week format that they developed last summer. Our partner Youth Evolution added extra sessions to their basketball camp and soccer camp. And Lego Camp, operated by Playwell Technologies, pitched in, adding an extra week of sessions to their Lego-inspired engineering camp. So between recently added new camps and adding sessions to our existing camps, we were able to add capacity for more than 1,100 campers. So that's the overview of what our camps look like this year. And now I'll walk you through how we are marketing our camps to our customers. Next slide, please. This year, we made a few adjustments to our tried and true summer camp marketing strategy to help Parks and Rec camps shine as the ideal way for local kids to spend their second pandemic summer. We built on last year's proven success at operating safe camps, emphasizing our safety protocols and reminding families that there is still fun to be had even in these scary times. We put together a detailed plan, but the short version of our strategy is we focused on our online presence. We relied on accurate, up-to-the-minute reporting, and we implemented weekly email and social media campaigns. Next slide, please. Our tagline this year is simply a fun, safe summer with SB Parks and Rec. And as you can see here, this year's branding calls to mind the look of a well-worn retro beachy t-shirt. We wanted a sense of nostalgia for our summer camp families and bringing up feelings of the safety of years gone by and classic outdoorsy Santa Barbara fun. Next slide, please. As you saw in your staff report, registration started a little later this year, April 1st instead of March 1st. The Select families have more time to think about what they were comfortable with signing up for, with the future still a little uncertain as early as March. Our first task was letting the community know about the switch to April 1st, which we did with a postcard sent to 10,000 local residents. And you see an image of that postcard here on your slide. You'll notice that the postcard is printed in English and Spanish, which is new for us with summer camp marketing, and it's something we hope to do more of in future years. Next slide, please. Alongside the postcard mailing, we relied on email and our web presence, which before I go on, let me encourage you and our viewers at home to look at our website and please follow us on social media where you can always find us at SB Parks and Rec. Next slide, please. Okay, we sent emails to our subscribers and posted to our social media accounts. We listed our April 1st registration start date on the city calendar and created Facebook and Nextdoor events so our customers would get automatic reminders leading up to launch day. What you see here is a selection of our reminder emails, which we send out to our list of 14,000 subscribers through MailChimp. We'll talk a little more about ongoing email campaigns in just a minute, but next slide, please. So the emails drove customers to our website, sbparksandrec.org, which now redirects to a Perfect Mind screen. Perfect Mind is our registration system, which you see on this slide. Here, users can browse camps without having to create an account or log in first, which is new, and we're really pleased about it. Although we'll bring back our popular summer camp website content next year with the launch of the new City of Santa Barbara website, this year, redirecting to Perfect Mind was the most efficient choice. And it all worked. We had our best registration day one on record with 1,880 registrations made by the end of the day on April 1st. And that's a 24% increase over day one in 2019, which we're using as our benchmark as sort of the last normal year that we had for summer camp registration. And around $766,000 in department revenue came in one day, which is something we have not seen before. Next slide, please. Building on that success day one, we broadened our outreach, placing ads and listing our camps in summer camp guides published by the Independent and Newshawk, and advertising in free City of Santa Barbara publications. We posted on social media and kept up with weekly summer camp emails as well, doing outreach for the camps that hadn't filled up yet. Next slide. So since 2019, one tool that helps guide our marketing is our reporting. We developed a quickly updatable, robust reporting system in Excel. It uses up-to-the-minute numbers from Perfect Mind to tell us where our marketing efforts are best spent. Next slide, please. A simple dashboard, which you see parts of in these slides, shows which camps are close to capacity and which have multiple spots left to fill. For example, we saw that our sports camps were not filling up as quickly as we'd like. So we adjusted our messaging. We emphasized that Parks and Rec sports camps are great for beginners looking for fun. They're not cutthroat competition. We focused on this message in April's email and social media updates to help increase registration in these camps. Next slide, please. So our marketing mix of print, web, social media, and email campaigns has proven successful in the past, but we're not complacent about it. We track analytics on our social posts, and every marketing email is A/B tested to help us improve each time, writing the kind of summer camp content our customers want to read. In this slide, you can see an example of an A/B test of a subject line from this spring, where we found out people were more likely to open an email with a smiley face emoji in the subject line. Next slide, please. Each paid promotion of a social media post is also a valuable experiment. We learn which user demographics get the best results. Here you see examples of our Facebook and Instagram posts from earlier this spring. Next slide, please. And here are a few more of those. We used social media to encourage families to get their campers onto waiting lists for sold out camps, so they could be first into those expanded sessions that we talked about before. And we do featured camp posts to let our followers know when we have sessions with spots open. When we want to reach social media users beyond our 7,000 or so followers, we use paid promotion, paying a nominal amount to show up in the feeds of parents in our area who have indicated certain interests. Next slide, please. So although the pandemic has had a strong positive effect on registration beyond our control, with families more than ready to sign up their children for safe in-person socialization after a school year of screens, I'm really proud of our marketing for this year, and I look forward to improving upon it next year and coming back to tell you about it again. In the meantime, stay tuned. Keep an eye out for our ad in tomorrow's issue of The Independent, which you see there on the left. And please do give SB Parks and Rec a follow on your favorite social media platform. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you for listening to me, and please ask me any questions you have now. We have Rich Hanna here to help me with answers if I need him.
Sure. Well, you have turned summer camp into a science. I'm so impressed with the marketing and enrollment and revenue results. We should keep you shut up for another year. We won't have enough camps for all those kids if we do that. I had a question about, not about the marketing, I had a question about a particular camp. So I don't, perhaps if anyone has questions there.
That's probably Rich to answer a specific.
Yeah, so I'm gonna save that. Oh, okay. Mr. Hanna, I had one question. I'm thrilled to see that there is a half-day water polo camp because I've watched a surge in popularity of that sport in the last, I don't know, 6 or 7 years. It's been an exponential growth, and the kids need it. My question is, how will that impact current users of Los Baños?
Chair Clark and Commissioners, that's a great question. So typically every summer we transition from a fall, winter, spring swim schedule, which is heavily serving adult lap swimming and club swimming and master swimming, to more of what would be considered recreation swimming. During the summer schedule, we have times set aside in the morning session, specifically between 10 and noon. That's when we do our free Learn to Swim program for kids that are bused there from our summer fun sites as part of our agreement with the Friends of Los Baños. We also have the ability to do other programming at that time. And so we're using this summer and this opportunity as we come off of the pandemic. We go into summer before we transition into fall typical programming to bring the water polo, the beginning water polo camp to Los Baños. We're hoping it's successful and it's something we can build on year over year. The target, as you probably read in the reporter, if you followed any of the great marketing that Summers has done, is really the novice level entry water polo. It's pretty cutthroat here in this community with water polo in general. And one of the reasons we had over 1,200 kids in junior lifeguards last year is there was no club water polo in the community. So kids that we have typically served through swimming and water polo programs had nothing to do, so they returned to the junior guard program. So hopefully that answers your question. It fits great in the summer schedule at Los Baños. Not something that we could continue throughout the year because we couldn't really compete with the local clubs and their use of the high school pools to conduct the programming throughout the school year.
Thank you. Commissioner Longstreet.
I just wanted to make a comment. My grandkids have attended several camps in the last year, and just that all of the COVID protocols were followed, the kids were safe, and it was a good experience. I think all of the staff was extremely responsible. So kudos to everyone for keeping it going during this tough time and providing an outlet for the kids. So I was very pleased with their experiences, and thank you.
You, Commissioner Longstreet. Commissioner Feck.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I really like the color scheme and the retro vibe of the marketing. I think it looks really cool. It's eye-catching. Maybe one thing to consider, if you guys haven't already, as we move into the summer, is maybe capturing some actual video footage of the camps that you guys are doing, because I know On Instagram in particular, those reels, like the 15-second, 30-second reels of just like really quick information and quick visual is really eye-catching for people. And when you post a reel, it goes to like the world pretty much. So I feel like there's kind of a greater reach, especially when you start tagging, you know, downtown Santa Barbara or the Independent or whatever you want to tag, and it kind of starts generating a little bit more traffic into your into social media in general. And then just like the use of just like those 24-hour stories on Instagram where you can ask questions like, hey, like what kind of camps do you guys want to see, or who's enrolled, or we have 106 spots left for basketball, or just kind of like those types of things to kind of get some traffic. And just like a little bit more engaging back and forth with the community on social media can be super helpful. But I think, you know, like it looks really great. It's eye-catching, and you know, Instagram specifically is always boosting different things. And right now they're just super into their reels because they're trying to, you know, kind of do the TikTok thing. So just something maybe to think about as the kids are participating. If we're able to get some quick videos, could be fun and nice to see as well.
Chair Clark and Commissioner Beck, I agree, and we will definitely do that. And thank you for the compliment.
I agree. So that's a really good idea, the reels, but I'm wondering what kind of paperwork would need to be filled out by the parents to give permission. I know that in any camp, the parents sign a photo release and stuff, but I don't know if posting a video on, just something to be aware of social media, we might need to have some extra cautions or permission slips.
Chair Clark, we do have parents sign photo releases for marketing for Parks and Recreation with their registration. So our camp directors will, if we know that we're going to be there taking video or photos, our camp directors will kind of separate the kids who don't have a release. And Rich, is there anything I'm missing on that topic?
You're muted, Rich.
I knew it was going to happen in one of these meetings. I apologize for that. Summer's covered it perfectly. I do think it's an extra reminder to parents. I think one of the things we've demonstrated is we can pivot. So I think, you know, making sure that parents are okay with us using those types of social media outlets is something we can incorporate this summer. And our staff are very good about checking which kids and which kids should not be in those types of media productions.
I wanted to circle back to something Commissioner Longstreet said when she was commending the Parks Department for their safe conduct of camps during the pandemic, how everyone followed protocols and were safe. It's really important to realize that there is not only physical health, but it's the mental health of these kids. And it's a balance that we're all trying to find. And I think you guys are doing a really wonderful job at the Park Department recognizing that there are some inherent risks, but by following protocols, you might be able to maximize physical and emotional health to the best of your possibility. We can't keep kids in a bubble forever, because they won't become fully functioning human beings. We've already seen so much anxiety and depression rise across all ages of our youth right now. So I want to echo Commissioner Longstreet in saying thank you for doing this for these kids and doing it safely, because they need it, and the parents need it too. Commissioner Longstreet.
Miss McGill is first.
Well, you can go first, but I've been raising my hand for a while, so I just need to raise.
Wait, I'll put my reading glasses back on. Sorry, you're so tiny.
Okay. Well, one of the things that I wanted to bring up in the report that I think is really important is the summer fun program and the fact that you were able to expand it, that it filled up so quickly. I think those are the families that are most in need in our community for a place for their kids to be in the day. And thank you for finding a way to, you know, look at expanding that. Also that the Job Apprentice program filled up. Arts Alliance. I don't think we talk enough about what important programs those are. 30 young people who are working for the summer are, that's just really important. So thank you for making sure that you, even in these tough budget times, you're keeping our focus balanced on those in need also. My question is, are we still using the Campership Alliance for scholarships, and is that where parents who need some assistance should go?
You're muted, Rich.
And
All right, I was just pulling up a document. Chair Clark and Commissioner Longstreet, yes, we're still working through Campership Alliance to facilitate our scholarships. They're operating under a slightly different model too. They've actually allocated out the majority of their scholarships, but as agencies that can offer camps and activities are coming online, they've got a wait list as well. The total number of scholarships that we've provided to Campership for this summer was 106 with the initial offerings that we typically host each summer, and then we just provided additional scholarships related to the flight and trapeze camps. So we're anticipating, just in the scholarships for camps, not even counting the other programs that you referenced, somewhere in the vicinity of about 130, 135 scholarships this summer for youth in this community.
Good, thank you.
Vice Chair McGill.
It's kind of a bit of a segue from what Commissioner Longstreet was alluding to. I'm curious, everything looks fabulous, and I wish camp was like this when I was a kid. I think I've said that before. The focus online, do you have any sense of how many, what percentage, what demographic of the community might be being missed by having such an online focus? And is there an outreach or any way to access the people who might be missed that aren't getting a camping opportunity because of limited access or limited abilities with the online systems?
Chair Clark and Commissioner McGill, that is a great point. And we do try to not go only online. Our registration system lives online and you can register online, but you can also call in regular years. You can come in to our offices, and in most years we have print materials also available. And we hope that anyone who doesn't feel comfortable with being online very much or isn't able to be would have received our postcard. We do try to include a little bit of all zip codes. Maybe that's something that we could expand a little more and just make sure that we don't lose our print presence even as we're taking advantage of being online.
The reason I'm asking, I mean, it's hard for me to know how big an issue this is or isn't. I do know with making vaccination appointments, it was an issue. So it's not too much of a stretch to say if it's an issue with making vaccination appointments, it could be an issue with registering for summer camps.
Something for us to keep in mind as we continue moving forward. And it's a great point to bring up.
I would add, though, that most elementary school parents receive the bulk of their information with their school-age kids online. So it's kind of it's a generational thing that passed me by, and but I see that in my home happening. That's how they do everything.
Yeah.
Chair Clark and Commissioner McGill, just to tag on to that. Last year during the pandemic, we were only online, and we were concerned about that, and we filled all of our camps well beyond capacity. What we've missed probably the most during the pandemic is our on-campus presence during the typical school year. So when we have on-school programs like our recreation after-school program and our sports programs, we have the ability to network directly with our participants and families that ultimately then come and register for our programs. The program that I was most concerned about this summer as we went live with online registration was the Summer Fun program. And we were full within the first day. We've expanded that once and are about to expand it again. The biggest contributing factor of that is the principal, Casey Kilgore at Franklin Elementary School, takes ownership and pride in what she offers on her campus, and she and both her staff, her faculty, and the PTA doing an exceptional job of reaching out to these folks to get them to our website or resources to help them register for our programs.
Yeah, which is great. I mean, my concern with the other programs, of course, is they might fill up, and it's great that they fill up, but is everybody who might want to participate able to get in the queue? And that's really where I'm coming from with it.
That's a great point, and I think, you know, with the school district's return to specifically summer school this year on 6 elementary school sites, I think parents that are in need of activities where they could not participate in a camp, or if we were full, will have activities on school campuses. And it's my understanding that that will also take place on school campuses for, I guess, summer 2022. Although we will be looking to expand back out to a second summer fun site. So, you know, it gets back to that partnership with the school district and other people in the community, how we can get kids into any type of programming to keep them positively engaged during the summer months when there's no typical school day activities.
Yeah, thanks. And then on a completely different note, I have 2 other questions. Was Lobster Joe's not filling up just a snapshot in time? Because I would have thought that would have been a popular one. And then the other one is you alluded to water polo and beach lifeguards. You know, in terms of your marketing with such a great variety, how do you assess which programs might be cannibalizing other programs for attendees?
Chair Clark and Commissioner McGill, look at you seeing that detail on my slide. Lobster Joe's still has some spots left, and I think some of that is I didn't make sure that we got our messaging really completely straight right away, and we rewrote it later so things would be more clear. And the initial age range for the camp was really wide, much wider than it ended up being. I think it was 6 to 17 at the time, and that's just a really wide range for a parent to understand how their child of any particular age is going to fit into that. So we chopped it down to, I think, 6 to 12 with a junior counselor option. And then your other question was about which programs are kind of cannibalizing and duplicating services with each other.
And how do you get, or more to the point here, does that happen, and how do you figure that out?
Our recreation supervisors are really good at evaluating whether or not they're wasting their time by duplicating a service. And in the cases where it ends up that we didn't predict that we were duplicating a little bit, or it was the same user group, I haven't really had a problem with that. Rich, is there anything you can think of on that topic?
No, commissioners, thanks, Summers. So we're very careful not to make sure we're not over monopolizing a specific camp or activity. I think when you dive deeper into the camp details, some of them travel, some of them are higher fees, some of them do different activities. They may all have somewhat of an overlap in terms of being in an aquatic environment or at the beach. But we try to steer clear of having competing camps within our own inventory, as well as what else is going on in the community. And then just to add on to what Summers was saying really quickly is, you know, beach volleyball at East Beach runs 10 weeks. It's a half-day camp. For the many years that I was involved in it, on a Friday before camp would start, there's 30 kids registered. And then by Monday at 9 a.m., there was 120 kids registered. And parents just knew that they could do that. And they paid and planned their summer around knowing that there was always going to be a space in a camp. You know, with other camps not providing full levels of service this year, we're more full in some camps, and we anticipate other camps to pick up more of that last minute registration as parents realize they need for their kids, whether it's around a travel plan or around work or other commitments that they have.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Ms. Navarez, was there anybody that from the public that wanted to speak on this agenda item?
Chair Clark, I do not see any raised hands.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any more questions for Summers or Mr. Hannah? No? Okay, Summers, that was an excellent report. Thank you so much, and thank you for all your work. You make us all proud, giving these kids a great summer. Thank you, Mr. Hannah, for answering our questions. I believe that brings us to new business, which we don't have any of, and old business. I don't believe we have any of it, and I think we can adjourn. Zachary.
Chair Clark and Commissioners, that's it for this meeting.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
All right, thank you. Have a good weekend.